In this video, I will cover the safest used midsize cars you can buy for around $15,000. Here's a quick answer up front. According to my examination of crash test data and driver fatality rates, the safest vehicles in this price range are the 2015 through 2019 Subaru Outback, the 2015 through 2019 Subaru Legacy, and the 2013 through 2017 Honda Accord. I reached this conclusion by examining three sources: NHTSA safety ratings, IIHS crash test ratings, and an IIHS report containing driver death rates for each vehicle. I'm going to walk you through each of these sources, explain how I chose the top three safest midsize cars, and conclude by mentioning a few midsize cars in this price range to avoid if safety is important to you. The first source I consulted was the IIHS website. If you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, or IIHS, but for those not aware, it's a U.S. nonprofit organization funded by auto insurance companies that carries out research and produces ratings for passenger vehicles. Those ratings are readily available on its website. Each year, the IIHS publishes top safety picks for each vehicle class, which is a good place to start a search for a safe vehicle. I started by looking at the 2015 top safety picks because 2015 is the average year for vehicles in our price range. To qualify for 2015 top safety pick, a vehicle had to earn good ratings in the moderate overlap front, original side, roof strength, and head restraint tests, as well as good or acceptable ratings in the driver's side small overlap front test. To qualify for the 2015 Top Safety Pick Plus, a vehicle had to meet the Top Safety Pick criteria plus earn an advanced or superior rating for front crash prevention. I won't dive into each of these criteria in this video, but I will place a link to the IIHS website in the description if you're interested in more information. In 2015, 9 vehicles earned the Top Safety Pick Plus rating: the Chrysler 200, Honda Accord, Hyundai Sonata, Mazda 6, Subaru Legacy, Subaru Outback, Toyota Camry, Toyota Prius, and Volkswagen Jetta. I reviewed the individual test ratings for each vehicle and listed them in a spreadsheet. Unfortunately, this did very little to distinguish any of the models, as all of them scored good on everything with the exception of the Mazda 6. In search of more data, I reviewed the NHTSA safety ratings for each car. NHTSA stands for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is an agency of the U.S. federal government and part of the Department of Transportation. Like the IIHS, NHTSA publishes safety ratings for passenger vehicles, but their rating system is different. NHTSA assigns up to 5 stars for each vehicle for overall crashworthiness. All of our Top Safety Pick Plus vehicles, with the exception of the Toyota Prius, received 5 stars for their overall NHTSA rating. However, not all vehicles received 5 stars on all 3 major subcategories, which are frontal crash, side crash, and rollover. In fact, only the Subaru Outback received 5 stars on all 3 criteria. I went through the NHTSA website and entered the frontal crash, side crash, and rollover ratings for each vehicle into the spreadsheet. I then totaled the 3 scores to make one composite score out of 15, which is easier to use to compare all of the vehicles. Inputting this data served to distinguish a few vehicles, namely the 2 Subarus, the Accord, the Hyundai Sonata, and the Chrysler 200 all received at least 2 5-star ratings, while the remaining vehicles did not. This analysis was helpful, but even more helpful was my third data source, a report published by the IIHS in 2020, which contains driver fatality rates for each vehicle model on our list. The report contains the overall death rate for each vehicle, as well as the multi-vehicle death rate, single vehicle death rate, single vehicle rollover death rate, and the number of vehicles in the sample size, which is labeled on the chart as exposure. The overall death rate includes a confidence range in parentheses. Now, it's worth noting that a number of factors can impact the death rate for each vehicle, not just the crashworthiness of the car itself. But the IIHS does at least adjust the rates by driver age and gender. For your reference, the average overall death rate for midsize 4-door cars was 43 deaths per 1 million vehicles. So any vehicle on our list with a death rate below that figure performed above the average. Looking at the data, you can see that the two Subarus boasted death rates far below this average. The Subaru Outback, which is listed as a station wagon in the report, had a really incredible death rate of just 3 deaths per 1 million. The Subaru Legacy also performed very well, with 14 deaths per 1 million vehicles, followed not very closely by the Toyota Camry and Honda Accord, which each boasted 34 deaths per 1 million vehicles. As a side note, I think it's worth noting that the Ford Fusion, although not a top safety pick plus, is a safe vehicle according to this data set, and is probably a viable option for those looking for a less expensive but adequately safe sedan. I went through and entered the overall death rate for each vehicle into the spreadsheet. I sorted the list by death rate and added conditional formatting to the cells to reflect the score each vehicle received in each category. Green is of course good and red is not. As you can see, once the data from all 3 sources is entered and viewed here in concert, there are clear trends that differentiate the vehicles. Our 3 winners are at the top: the Outback, the Legacy, and Accord. The Subarus are really in a class of their own when it comes to vehicle safety. As a side note, check out the massive difference between the real-world death rates of, say, the Volkswagen and Chrysler compared to the 2 Subarus. All 4 vehicles earned 5 good ratings from IIHS, but in reality, Chrysler 200 drivers were 5 to 10 times more likely to die in a crash than Subaru drivers if you take this data set at face value. This concludes the video. I hope this information was helpful in your car buying process. Please feel free to comment suggestions for how to improve this video, as well as any suggestions for future videos. Thanks for watching.